Howdy all. It's my honor to call the 10th session of the 55th Senate to order. With that, for all of those willing and able, if you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now be moving into our land acknowledgement.
Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is a traditional and ancestral homeland of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples.
This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other Native nations.
We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it.
As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed.
CSU is a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion.
And significantly, that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon.
This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment.
Thank you. That will now be moving into our swearing in of new senators and associates. If you are a new senator or associate, or if you're switching positions, if you could please join us with that, please.
We don't seem to have flags.
Yeah. I state your name.
I, Blake Simpson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congrats. Thank you. With that, we'll now be moving into beginning roll call. Just a quick reminder that if you're new, if you switch positions, to sign in on that placard sheet if you haven't already on the front.
Hello everybody, my name is Ryan. I'll be filling in as clerk tonight. My apologies if I mispronounce your name. You can let me know how to pronounce it either now or after. With that, let's start it. Speaker of the Senate, Reese.
Present.
Speaker Pro Tempore Lutz.
Present.
Parliamentarian Talbot.
Present.
Senator Jones. Senator Jones. Senator Eddington.
Present.
Associate Senator Price. Associate Senator Price. Senator Esquivel. Senator Esquivel. Or Associate Senator, my apologies. Senator Miller.
Present.
Senator Bishkow. Senator Bishkow. Public Relations Officer Diggs.
Present.
Senator Chuck. Senator Chuck. Students of the Oval Caucus Chair Mananti.
Present.
Senator Roberts. Senator Roberts. Senator Evelyn Rivera.
Present.
Associate Senator Wilkin. Associate Senator Wilkin. Associate Senator Kier. Associate Senator Kier. Senator Johnson.
Here.
Senator Pata Perez.
Here.
Senator Dusterberg.
Here.
Senator Villa. Senator Villa. Senator Jameson.
Present.
Senator Taylor.
Present.
DEI Affairs Committee Vice Chair Grenier.
Present.
Senator McCorkle.
Present.
Senator Garland.
Present.
DEI Affairs Committee Chair Caseta Stoner.
Present.
Senator Vega.
Present.
Senator Bridge. Senator Bridge. Senator Candelaro.
Present.
Senator Leggett.
Present.
University Affairs Committee Chair Rivera. Senator Flores.
Present.
Budgetary Affairs Committee Chair McLaughlin.
Present.
Senator Hansen.
Here.
Senator McKinnon.
Present.
Senator Grant. Senator Grant. Senator Corey.
Here.
Senator Bone.
Present.
Senator Mendoza.
Present.
Senator Pratt.
Present.
Senator Simpson.
Present.
Recruitment and Retention Officer Jadon.
Present.
Senator Brisky.
Present, okay, cool.
Present.
Senator Bain.
Present.
Accessibility Caucus Chair Gray. Accessibility Caucus Chair Gray. Associate Senator Sananes.
Present.
Senator Jama.
Here.
Senator Jeffries.
Here.
Senator Pickerel.
Here.
Associate Senator Grube. Present. Women's and Social Justice Caucus Chair Hill. Here. Associate Senator Harris. Associate Senator Harris. Associate Senator Vogel.
Present.
Internal Affairs Committee Chair Francis Gilroy.
Present.
Senator Trinado. Senator Trinado. Senator Singleton. Present. Right, and that concludes attendance.
Thank you. With that, we'll now be moving to consent agenda. Do I see any dissent to this agenda?
Dissent. I'd like to move to change the guest speaker to the candidate for city council instead of the Senate financial training.
Is there any dissent to this motion? Seeing none, yay. That'll be reflected in the agenda. Awesome. Is there any other dissent to this agenda? Looking at Zoom.
I have one. I'd like to motion to add the ratification of basic needs intern Nevaeh Green to the top of confidence business.
Is there any dissent to this motion? Hearing none, that'll also be reflected.
Thank you.
Awesome. Is there any other dissent to this agenda? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into gallery input. Does anyone from gallery wish to speak at this time? We'll bring the mic over there.
Very cool. Great job. Thank you. Yep. How's it going, everybody? Santino Martinez again. Just here to speak with you all today, I think about 3 topics. Things that are kind of top of mind just given the continued government shutdown, talking about healthcare, talking about pricing communities, outer spaces, right? About the interconnectedness of healthcare, immigration, and the economy, okay? And if you don't believe that they are entwined, please ask your economics department professor nearest you. They will let you know that this is the case, okay? So healthcare is an important issue. The budget being proposed by Republicans seeks to set rates for health insurance for 2026. If the Republican budget passes as is, premiums could double, triple, quadruple, right? You've heard all your favorite lefties talking about this on TV. Bernie Sanders is constantly saying quadruple, triple, double. So according to health insurance companies themselves, they're saying this, lawmakers themselves are saying this. I would consider what they're saying. During this month, it's particularly alarming that the administration is attempting to raise levels of terror, fear, insecurity, anxiety, right? It's Halloween. I don't think that's not on purpose, and if it, just happens to be a coincidence, I mean, good for you, I guess, throughout the country. So there's kind of something evil lurking in the dark, right? Not to evoke Michael Jackson, right? You try to scream, terror might take the sound before you make it, right? And that's just a little nod also to our First Amendment issues that we're still dealing with here on campus. They're ever present, regardless of the president's ad nauseum reminders that they've rescinded, restrictive policy, right? There's still, that's dismissive of the fact that there's restrictive policies regarding speech still on campus that have nothing to do with specifically the chalking. At every opportunity, the administration, and by extension, public institutions like CSU, have been normalizing cruelty on our campuses, right? Visited on vulnerable people, our students, our fellow students, our community. Allowing ICE on campus, offering deported students official university-funded escorts to their expulsion seems particularly gross. It's classy. Real demonstration of class. The budget is proposing an $800 billion cut to funding for Medicaid and Medicare. It will also institute additional hurdles for eligible persons to acquire Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP benefits, all kinds of social safety net benefits. And these are kind of bullet points. I'll kind of get into something as I go on, and if I'm allowed and have time. But emergency medical services are not only services that undocumented immigrants could benefit from. By law, we have to offer emergency medical service to persons in the U.S. And I think this is a good thing. I'll explain later as I go on kind of why this is, okay? Healthcare issues bleed into other issues. The attack on temporary protective status, which is a legal process for immigration in the U.S. It's basically undermining who is a citizen. This is undermining 14th Amendment. There's just a lot of things to be wary of, right? That our community should be wary of. What's going on around you right now, and that affects you directly or indirectly. Okay. So, healthcare is a matter of existential importance to every member of the CSU community and to communities nationwide. The administration is engaged in a misinformation campaign, right, about the government shutdown. It exists as a consequence of the failure to reach compromise during bargaining regarding healthcare. And Republicans are united in their messaging. The Democrats have caused this shutdown because Democrats want to give illegals, right, which is disgusting, dehumanizing language, right? You're talking about undocumented immigrants. Okay? Saying that they want to cut this funding because illegals want to get Medicaid and Medicare. Okay, this is a blatant lie. Our university not only employs immigrants, but also offers immigrants quality educational opportunities. Okay, so it's very important that the university pay attention to this. Okay.
Unfortunately, you ran out of time.
Did I?
But if someone wants to motion for you to have more time, we can do that.
I really appreciate it.
Can I motion to give them 5 additional minutes? Is there any dissent to this motion? Hearing none, you can continue.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, it's for this reason that the university should be clear that it's recognized as the simple truth, right? According to the PRWORA, that's the Personal Responsibilities and Work Opportunities Reconciliation Act of '96, undocumented immigrants are ineligible to receive federal benefits like SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, okay? They're ineligible. So the lie that we are doing this to give Medicaid and Medicare to undocumented immigrants is a lie, okay? Since 1996, we have not been able to do that. They are ineligible for these benefits. I just want to make that really clear. Okay. The university should be committed to advocating for good faith bargaining between parties to resolve this issue of healthcare. We should also commit to expanding healthcare availability to all students and faculty. CSU should also advocate for the rights of people to receive the benefit of the law, benefits that the law entitles them to. And the CSU should also advocate for that healthcare is a basic human right, that all persons within the country should be provided, regardless of immigration or citizenship status. And I think this is so because, God forbid, you travel to your all-inclusive accommodations, right, in foreign countries and get denied healthcare after falling off a zip line, fracturing your spine, or succumbing to diarrhea after neglecting your guide's sage advice to avoid certain practices that you take for granted here. Such a great nation. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, EMTALA, okay, is an act from the U.S. Congress, passed in '86, part of a Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act called COBRA. This legislation basically guarantees that if you're in the U.S. and you get hurt, you get emergency medical care. Okay, so since in 1986, we have decided as a country, you get hurt here, you get help. And this is something that the Western world does regularly. I think it's a standard that is not bad. You should be thankful that it exists, because you go somewhere, like I said, you get hurt, you don't want them to just deny you healthcare at the door. It's obvious. Burke and Manville, in their book Civic Bargaining, make it clear that one of the essential elements of democracy is good faith bargaining. Okay, this is brought about through hard work of maintaining civic friendship. It's the civility between opposed parties. It gives legitimacy and strength to our civil-led institutions. Okay, the foundational element for our authors is civic education. Okay, trying to answer questions like, how does it all work? How did we get to this point in history? We can't claim to be dedicated to education if we allow verifiably false information to pass as truth. We can't claim to be dedicated to democracy and democratic practice if we candidly dismiss bad faith bargaining being demonstrated by one of our two major parties. So yeah, I'll keep it at that. Vote. Yes on LL? Yes on Prop LL, Prop MM. Our fast track policy is whack. We should review that. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else for gallery? Awesome.
Good evening, Senate members and my fellow Rams. My name is Meda Lakshmans, pronouns she, they. Although public speaking is not my strong suit, the voice is one of our most powerful weapons in our arsenal, so I will use it to the best of my ability and more. As a third-generation Indian American woman, I have been raised to recognize all immigrant people from every corner of the world as one of my own. For every immigrant leaving behind all that they know and making a new life in America was once my father and my grandparents, and their children were once my mother. As such, I believe it is only right that I utilize this privilege to advocate for fellow immigrants whose rights are being violated as we speak. Since Trump's return to office in January 2025, ICE has arrested more than 592,089 individuals, many of whom have a legal work visa. And as of last night, approximately 54,152 of these immigrants have been deported. These are just the numbers I researched last night, but they increase by the day. I'm sure many of us in this room right now have immigrant loved ones that we are worried about because of these raids, and even if we don't know anyone being directly affected, we've witnessed such duress on the internet through recordings of people being illegally detained as they are going to or coming home from work. Furthermore, the current administration plans on conducting major immigration raids in 3 U.S. cities per week, with one of the first of these raids having taken place in none other than Aurora, Colorado. That's right, a raid in which federal officers pounded on the doors, used smoke grenades, forced themselves into people's homes, and arrested individuals, all for the crime of being from Venezuela. That happened in our home state. ICE raids that lead to children being kept from school and in a state of panic as these agents break their doors down and arrest their parents, that happens in our home state. Weapons such as smoke grenades being used on our civilians, our home state. Furthermore, and I really don't think I should say this, but I will, these arrests happened without warrants. These violent and unconstitutional raids are just the beginning of what Donald Trump calls Operation Aurora. And yes, I say the word unconstitutional because these raids against immigrants go against the constitutional right to equal protection and freedom from unlawful searches and seizures. Senate, now I may just be talking about Aurora here, but ICE's reign of terror is not far from our grounds. Not when a father in Loveland, Colorado was detained in January 2025 after dropping his child off from school. Furthermore, we as a university are already responsible for violations against the immigrant population after revoking at least 6 student visas in a frankly shameful attempt to bend to the will of the current administration. So, members of ASCSU, I close off my time with these demands. We ask that ASCSU and your university administration commit to fully divesting from any ICE-related enterprises. This means no ICE agents and presence on campus grounds or events such as career fairs. We ask that CSU commits to being a sanctuary school for undocumented immigrants, and we request that ASCSU implement a task force to establish a website for immigration attorneys for cohort of its constituents. Finally, I personally ask all of you, not just as Senate, but as individuals, to take a stand against ICE on behalf of your fellow immigrants. Because unless you have lineage with one of the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island, You too are a descendant of immigrants, and what right do you have to turn your back on your own? Thank you.
Give me 1 second, hold on. All right, hi everybody, my name is Braden. I'm the co-chair for the Young Democratic Socialists of America, and I have 2 things that I'd like to bring up to my peers here at Senate. First of all, Trump is making 9 universities, or attempting to make 9 universities so far, sign a loyalty compact to his administration in order to receive federal funding, something that is deeply concerning to me, and I think that we need to hold our university accountable going forward, because similar with how the lawsuits occurred, it's not going to come to CSU first, but it is for sure going to come down to CSU. I'm in the process of trying to make a letter so that we can take it to the administration to make them sign a compact with their students rather than the Trump administration, and I'll be providing updates going forward. But something else I would like to talk about is SNAP benefits being canceled due to the government shutdown. I think one of the biggest things that I appreciate from ASCSU is the wonderful Rams Against Hunger pantry that y'all have right there. It's awesome. And also I appreciate just Rams Against Hunger in general. They're awesome. I think that, you know, the messaging should be super strong, because I think I don't have the number, but I know a lot of students rely on SNAP benefits and food stamps in order to afford food. And I think there should definitely be stronger messaging and like more outreach regarding the resources available to students. And I'd just like to see that going forward. So yeah, keep those 2 things in mind. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Amber Wright. I'm a senior studying political science and legal studies. I had spoken a couple weeks back about free speech here, and so I'm back. I'm going to talk about free speech again. So thank you all for your time today. So I just wanted to provide some updates on what has been happening since I last had the chance to speak with you all. But starting off from what happened back a couple weeks ago, right before I gave my comment at the Board of Governors, Amy Parsons pulled me aside to make sure that I had seen the policy had been removed from the policy library website, which was nice to hear before I gave my comment. It didn't change a word of what I said, but I asked her, I said, who made that final decision to pull that policy? And she said, I did. She said, I informed the Office of General Counsel to go ahead and pull it. So after all, it was as easy as that, her talking to the Office of General Counsel and pulling it off of the policy library website. And so she said those words to me, and I asked her if she is still planning to revise the policy, and she was very flippant about it. She essentially said, well, if we do, it won't be this semester. I have bigger fish to fry. Okay, so bigger fish to fry than restricting student and faculty free speech. Good to know, thank you. And also hoping that certain students will graduate or be gone, or at least the pressure will go away within that semester. So now it is up to all of us, and I know that plenty of us are working on this right now, so thank you to those who are and those who are still thinking about it. It's now up to us to lay the groundwork so that this cannot happen again, right? So this is now our goal, to get this written, get this documented, know what happened, and then also try our best to make change within our university so that this does not happen again, so that we actually have shared governance, and so that the university and administration is actually here to protect student free speech. So I wanted to make that clear. The policy was pulled without an ounce of transparency, just the way it went into place. And so even though it was pulled, and that is a victory, we wanted that policy gone, that harm has been done, that line has been crossed. And that is important. The administration still has not given transparency on what exactly happened, why it was pulled, and has not provided any information on how they will avoid this happening in the future. The fast track measure is still in place. That is still possible for them to use in the future. It was too easy for them to do that. And also, it only took 24 hours of students actively resisting for them to pull the policy, which seems odd to me, right? Why was it that easy for them to pull it? I don't have an answer for that yet, but I've been thinking about it. And I also wanted to say that the effect of the policy is still in place, right? Student free speech is still being chilled. I mean, just today, more messages were erased off the plaza this morning. A lot of my old messages, so I don't know if it was just to make sure the plaza looks neat, right? But they were erased this morning. And then also important to note that I had class with one professor, my capstone on peaceful conflict resolution. It's all about international law. following No Kings and just a weekend of resistance, we spent the class talking about if the United States actually adheres to any of the values that we proclaim to have: democracy, human rights. We know all of those, right? And so our theme of the class was not following with the syllabus. It was, if we care about these principles, what are we willing to do to actually embody them? And after class, she was emotional. And I said, thank you for actually sharing your opinion and actually having an honest discourse about the reality of our situation and not just talking more and more about, just the theory of international law divorced from reality. And she said that she's already had people complain in her class about what she has spoken about and that she is afraid for her job based on what she said in class that day. And all she said was, are we living up to these ideals? And if we want to change it, we need to run for office and we need to be empowered. That's all she said. Nothing particularly controversial, right? We spoke about the UN declaring genocide in Palestine, about what action states should be taking, right? So we had a good class, and she is afraid for her job. And so even though this policy has been removed, the effect is still in place. And so that means that for us, we have to be addressing that, and we have to be taking action because we have not seen the worst of it yet. On anything. ICE raids, censorship, surveillance, from everything. We have not seen the worst of anything yet, okay? And I hate to say that, I really do. Climate collapse, it's coming, right? So we live in we're in the bad part of the textbook right now, very bad part. And so I want us to know that we have to be organizing and taking action. I also want to take a moment to talk about the student expression that happened on campus today. If you all saw, Emily Osborne, a sophomore here, installed fake graffiti on the side of the Nancy Richardson Design Center, and it read, "They feast while we starve. There is no freedom under fascism, and are you paying attention?" And then above those, there was a poster that said, "Big Brother is watching you," with Trump's eyes on that. So that was great. Shout out to the artist, incredible, right? But it is made, yes, shout out. It is made to look like graffiti would. It was actually just written on the plastic and then attached with command strips, right? And so when I heard about this, I was like, okay, well, how long for admin to go try to remove it?
You're out of time. Does someone want a quick motion? So no front
Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it.
Motion to extend Amber's time by 5 minutes.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none, Amber.
Thanks, Killian. Okay, so now, so I went over there, right? I just had to. And CTV sent a reporter as well, so shout out to our student media doing the good work, holding the line. And so we went over there at the exact time that a grounds worker was coming in a maintenance truck. This was at about noon, right? And so we went up and it was the same thing. I'm just enforcing the policy. And I said, which policy are you enforcing to remove this? And I said, are you enforcing the 2022 free speech? Are you enforcing the most recently rescinded one? And he didn't name a free speech policy. He was like, no, it's university policy. I'm like, okay, which one? Which one? Show me. And he just said, oh, it's just, things with fixing things on the sides of buildings and things on poles. I have to take down signs all the time. They get mucky in the rain, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, but where in the policy? And thankfully, a group of students walked by and actually contacted the artist. So she was able to come out and speak with him during this time. So it was me, her, and the reporter. And the artist said, I don't understand why you're taking this down. I put this up for a class, for her Sculpture 100 or 101 class. The professor had said that you can affix something to the Nancy Richardson Design Center. And well, so then his response, this grounds worker, was, well, if you don't like this, then you can talk to Amy. And I was like, oh, how? How? Amy Parsons isn't the easiest person to reach, right? And so I said to him, so who told you to come take this down today? And he said, my supervisor. And I said, can we talk to your supervisor? And he stared blankly at us for a second and then said, you want us to talk to my supervisor? And I said, yeah. So he called the supervisor, was on the phone for about a minute or two, and then he left. And he went to lunch. And so then the artist took down the installation later today, this afternoon, which is unfortunate that the student had to take it down in the first place. It was better that it was her than the administration, I suppose. But at the same time, it's unfortunate to see that even now, the CSU practice seems to be remove or restrict student free speech first and then ask questions later. They could have investigated, why is this up here? Was this for a class, student, blah, blah, blah. But jumped straight to trying to remove it. So I just wanted to shout that out. That happened today. And again, it was just enforcing policy, just enforcing policy. So now looking in the future, my call to actions, right, is we need to be protecting student and faculty free speech because we are the ones that are holding the line. We are holding the line. And the university needs to view us as a resource, as a strength, and not as a risk to be managed. not a liability. We are actually keeping all of us safer, because if all of us speak out and are loud and disrupt and organize and engage, they cannot get all of us, okay? They can try, they will, but it needs to be all of us. We need to be organized, right? I also want to shout out that at Indiana University, for example, the administration cut their print student media. Just cut it. They're online only now. And so that tells you, what if they want to restrict online later on, right? Student journalism is under attack as well. Student free speech is under attack, and it's happening day by day. So speak out now before it gets even harder tomorrow. That's one thing I have to say. The other is that, thank you for everyone shouting out the federal compact. If CSU is not already under pressure by the federal government, which I suspect that they are because they're complying in advance, we will have that compact coming soon, or the effect of that coming soon. So we need to be ready for that, right? We need our systems, we need our shit together. We need us organized. We need shared governance tactics. We need to know how to work with administration. And we need to be ready for when this federal pressure is coming, because it will be coming soon. It's all coming home. And then also just knowing the state of the politics right now. Our president is demolishing part of the White House right now, okay? Demolishing part of the East Wing. The Rose Garden, already gone. Demolishing the East Wing as we speak. Building this $300 million ballroom that's, in my view, like Epstein's ballroom, and sending $40 billion to Argentina, okay? But not enough for our unhoused folks, not enough for our SNAP benefits, not enough for our students in debt, right? And at the same time, ICE is purchasing guided missile warheads. Guided missile warheads, okay? So it's bad, and we also have to know that Democrats won't save us. This next election will not save us. We need to be organizing ourselves, okay? And so I guess my last call to action I will say is we cannot be tolerant of people who are intolerant. That's the other message I want to say today. Because at the same time that all these restrictions are happening for students who are advocating for basic human decency, right? We have a campus preacher who was asking, is it okay to rape women? He asked that, okay? And he didn't say no. Students were arguing with him about this, okay? That's what's being spread on this plaza by this preacher, who, by the way, like, to remove this preacher from campus, he would literally have to lay hands on a student or directly threaten a student with their name, but he doesn't know their name. So even if he said a slur out to the crowd, we couldn't remove him for that, okay? So we should not be tolerant to people who are intolerant. It doesn't work that way. And then my last call to action to everyone, essentially, disrupt, make noise, be loud, be impossible to ignore. If that means carrying a piece of chalk and writing a message all over campus because they can't erase all the messages, do it. Carry chalk, be loud, disrupt, organize. And that's my message to everyone.
Hi everyone. I was actually inspired by that last speech to talk. So my name is Nevaeh. I'm a basic needs intern now, which is cool. And something that my partner says a lot is that I don't know what basic human decency is, because I tell them that they spoil me, and they do, and they're like, I don't spoil, that's basic human decency. I know that this is not basic human decency. I'm completely aware that what's happening now is not basic human decency, and I think we need to be nice to each other. So if you guys didn't know, they made it almost impossible to change your name on RamWeb. They made it so that you couldn't put your pronouns on there or your gender identity. So that's obviously an issue. Pride Center's working on that right now. Farron's working on that right now. And so it'll be something so keep your eyes out for that, because that'll be cool. But like the person that was sitting there said, just be loud, be cool, and just be kind to people, because SNAP benefits are going away and you have no idea what that'll do to people's lives. So if you don't do anything else, just be kind to people, because there's a world of messed up stuff going on right now. So just generally be nice to people. That's all I had to say. Bye-bye.
Coolio. I'm taking that if no one else from gallery wishes to speak at this time. So with that, we'll be moving into our guest speaker, City Council candidate Noel. You want to come and join us at the front?
just gonna put up your campaign website as a background, if that's okay.
Pardon?
I'm just gonna put up your campaign website as a background, if that's okay.
Hi, so as previously stated, my name is Zoelle Lane. I am running for City Council in District 5, which is the district that encompasses CSU. It kind of extends almost all of the dorms, as well as a lot of the apartments that students live in. And kind of before I want to touch on my campaign, I really do want to kind of echo what Amber said. So I work here at the university, and I have been hamstrung for most of this year, not just with the campaign, but also working in international programs and kind of seeing what's happening on campus and not necessarily being able to break from what orders from above are coming down as. So I think it's incredibly important that as we're having these conversations and we're advocating for our staff and our students and faculty to all speak out, we are all standing in solidarity together against this administration and really just echoing that it is not pointing fingers at other people, that we all need to be advocating for these policies to completely go away and for students to be able to have free speech on campus. Okay, so a little background about me. I immigrated here during the pandemic. My family are Syrian immigrants to Canada, and I came down here to work in nonprofits. And living in the States absolutely radicalized me. I did not understand how much having access to healthcare, having free healthcare, and being able to afford a place to live on my own, I took for granted until I came down here. And so essentially, coming to Fort Collins, I have what should be a really great job. I'm making below a livable wage, as are most people here in the city. I want a Fort Collins where people can afford to live where they work, where they can have housing, where they can buy a house or they can rent for a reasonable rate, where they can choose if they want to have kids and be able to afford that, and then retire in the community that they call home. And so my big things are, we need to look at affordability, we need to look at raising minimum wage and lowering costs of housing. We need to look at providing a pathway for unionization so that workers can stand in solidarity with each other and advocate for their basic human rights here in the city. And we need to be looking at protecting our vulnerable communities. We need to be looking at decriminalizing being unhoused, repealing car camping bans, and then providing the social services to those people so that we can use a housing first model, get them back on their feet, and protecting those people rather than having people vulnerable on the streets and, you know, at the mercy of if they're going to be arrested. We are facing what is an unprecedented time here in the city. We are looking at federal funding being cut while we are also dealing with ICE being here. I know you've mentioned ICE being on campus. I would like to highlight that the city has not been calling out businesses that are complicit in ICE operating here in the city, that businesses have been using codes over intercoms to have people come and pick up people while they are shopping without due process. And we are essentially letting this happen. I am so frustrated that our council purports to be progressive, but they've chosen not to raise minimum wage. They have voted against letting people unionize. And most recently, the city manager has reevaluated what city charter was, implemented home rules, and is stopping city workers from being able to participate in politics during their off time. They are using the excuse that they are allowed to do this based on the city charter, but at the state and county level, legislation has essentially changed to allow for more free speech. And yet our city in particular is taking the stance of, oh no, we actually like more regulation and stopping people from being able to advocate for themselves. Essentially, I think it's incredibly important that young people here in the city have a voice and have the ability to advocate for themselves rather than being spoken over. I would be the only renter on council. I would be the only person who has essentially said that they do not support the new fossil fuel infrastructure going on. I would be the only person who wants to raise minimum wage, including that for tipped workers. And I'm the only person who genuinely wants to look at how renter affordability is going to fit into affordable housing and is not okay with being complacent. Even if I am not your candidate, I really urge all of you to look at what other ballot measures are going on, get involved and cast your vote. There are currently tax bills going on for early childhood education and making sure that we can get around Tabor to pay people a fair wage and have funds so that people can afford to send their children to school. It is so wildly important that we are looking at how is CSU and how are we part of the community, not just insular, but how are we saying, these are what our values are, we are demanding this change and we are making it happen. So yeah, no, if there's time for questions, I'd love to take some questions about specific policy. My website has a very extensive policy section. If you're interested in exactly what I'm here for. But yeah, no, essentially, I just wanted you to kind of know that there is an alternative to the establishment Democrat option, because it is incredibly important. I am very frustrated with politicians saying one thing and then not following through on those promises. And I think that we need more actual representation of the working class and people who these decisions are affecting making these decisions.
Gio will go ahead and drop that website into the teams if any of you want to take a gander at that. But with that, do we have any questions for our guest president? Senator Singleton.
I guess my main question is, how difficult was it to become part of, or to get on the ballot and to be able to do all this?
So, in theory, it shouldn't necessarily be hard. In practice, I received a lot of misinformation from the city clerk that prevented me from getting on the ballot sooner, and then had to repeatedly go to the city clerk's office because they refused to put my correct information up on the website once I had sent in my candidate affidavit. So, in theory, any young person or any person who is interested in potentially running would fill in a candidate affidavit and then have to meet a signature requirement by a certain date. So with this current election cycle, that's going to be in August. So, in 2 years, if anyone wants to run, absolutely. But yes, I received a lot of pushback of it's not my turn. And I received a lot of clerical miscommunication during the process of trying to get on the ballot.
All right, thank you, I yield.
Senator McCorkle.
Hi, so I guess just a little background on the issue. It's my first year here at CSU, and I'm looking at housing for next year. And it's really stressful to me because currently I work 3 jobs on top of ASCSU to pay my student bill this year. So, according to this source, it's the living wage calculator from MIT. The minimum wage here in Fort Collins is $11 under the living wage for Fort Collins, Colorado, just for one adult. And I guess my question for you, obviously you talked about it a lot and I really appreciate that, but I guess my question for you is, in a council that hasn't necessarily supported this issue in the past, do you believe that you can have the persuasion or I guess the influence to bring it up on that council?
Yeah. Yeah, so I do. I genuinely do. So essentially, for a bit of background on that, for people who don't know, a few years ago, City Council had brought this up and essentially said that they would not consider raising minimum wage until Boulder did. And Boulder did several years ago and has a multi-year plan to continuously raise minimum wage to take some of the pressure off of small businesses who pushed back against the change, while also trying to make essentially the working class and people who needed to support themselves to be able to do so. And that is something that I'd absolutely want to implement here. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. And especially with affordability being the biggest issue that is happening right now, we have a lot of candidates in the current open seats who are running on that issue, as well as a potentially fantastic mayoral candidate who, if she doesn't get it, will still be sitting on council, who also supports that idea. I also have support from Boulder City Council as well as Denver City Council to help pressure Fort Collins City Council if need be to make that happen.
I'm glad that you have those connections to make it happen. Thank you so much. I yield.
Senator Eddington?
That was kind of my question, so I yield.
Senator Taylor?
You mentioned the cost of housing. I wanted to see what you think the city can and should be doing to help with that.
Yeah, so a large reason why the city hasn't been able to address the cost of housing, there's multiple things, but we can't do any sort of rent cap because of state legislature. And then we also, essentially we are investing in affordable housing, but we keep running up into problems with like land use codes and what we can actually rezone here in the city. My proposal is that we need to be not only expanding public transit, but then building that high density housing along those transit corridors, and amending the parking requirements that typically stop people from building mid to high density housing in our city. So it's kind of, you have to hit all those boxes so that we can actually build up in the way we need to have affordable space. And I'd also like to see the city actually using its resources to buy land and then have those things built, essentially subsidized by the city to make that happen and make that more affordable, because I do necessarily want to support small businesses and small developers here in the city who are going to support union workers, who are, essentially reinvesting in the community to make some sort of profit off of putting their time and energy into that, but not at the cost of the working people who are going to be living there. We do not need more luxury apartments renting out for at least $900 a room, when the only thing that's luxury about them is that they're painted gray. The most soulless gray on the face of the planet. That is ridiculous.
Thank you.
Chair McLaughlin?
Kind of building off of that question, do you have any particular strategies for increasing housing availability and affordability near CSU's campus and along the transit corridors linking CSU to other parts of the city, especially considering new state legislation?
So we do have new state legislation that has gone in for accessory dwelling units. I think that that's absolutely part of the solution, but kind of the flip side to the accessory dwelling units is that it's not a solution in of itself, because you need at least $100,000 to build any sort of accessory dwelling unit on your property if you are a homeowner or some sort of landlord. So I would like to see expanding those max lines to other parts of the city as well, so that we have like that 10-minute bus system coming in from east to west to make those areas more accessible for people. Additionally, I would like to see us put in more multi-use zoning so that we can have daycares, little convenience stores, groceries inside buildings and inside residential areas where people are going to be living and spending most of their time, so that it's not a burden on them to then drive a car or take like 2 hours on the bus to get from the outside of the city to campus to go to class. That's ridiculous. So it's a combination of rezoning while also expanding transit. I know in Old Town there has been talk of a lot of the parking structures potentially being used and repurposed if they're older to become housing. I think that this is a potentially great option to have more high density housing where a lot of these businesses already exist, but it can't be the only part of the solution if we want to make Fort Collins work for everyone.
All right, thank you. I yield.
Chair Casado.
Hello. I just wanted to ask, so you touched a little bit about immigration and even like how small businesses or businesses in general were calling people to try to get people kidnapped, essentially. And so I was wondering if you could expand more, and then also how would you be keeping CSU students, undocumented students, safe with CSU administration? I'm sure that you have heard that like our career fair had ICE jobs getting shown, and so I was just wondering about that.
So let's touch on the businesses. So there are businesses here in Fort Collins that are using flock cameras. I think that we should be very purposely calling those businesses out, such as Home Depot, and kind of implementing financial boycotts, because businesses don't care about morals, they care about money. And so we have to be able to use our money to advocate for what we want to see and penalize behaviors that we do not. So in line with that, it was actually local Safeways that are using the intercom system to call out that if they see shoppers that essentially are undocumented, and then people wait for them to come out of the building and then grab them in the parking lot. So we have essentially watch resources here in the city for people who are in fear of being abducted without recourse or without a witness, to call and have people come witness. So that has been utilized, but that is not enough. Earlier in this year, my coworker's son was pulled out of his class in elementary school and asked if he was a citizen or not. This is an elementary school aged child, and that should not be allowed here in the city. I think that we, as city council candidates, and just as fucking human beings, need to be really, really clear that it is not okay that ICE is here on campus. It is not okay. We need to make sure that we are not funding police that are potentially collaborating with ICE, that we are protecting our information systems here in the city and our digital parking systems. While they are not Palantir cameras, they are not on any sort of time delay, and they are not owned by the city. That is dangerous to have that information accessible and out there to people if it was, if they wanted to get a hold of it. I think that these are all things that we can be doing at the city level to kind of essentially take a stance, even if we don't want to very loudly say, screw Trump, to actually screw Trump. I personally would want to take that stance, but that might be a little bit of a harder sell. I also think that it is incredibly important to be pointing out to people who might be enticed by some of the promises of working for ICE and kind of an extension, the military, is that a lot of things that are being promised as benefits for taking those very soulless jobs are the same things that we on the left are fighting for. So making sure that people have access to education, making sure that people have access to healthcare and a living wage. You should not have to resort to turning on your fellow man and your fellow neighbor and essentially committing crimes to have what should be basic human rights. And so we need to stand up in solidarity and say we demand these rights without actually committing crimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair Hill.
Hi, first I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come talk to us. We really appreciate it. I had a couple of questions. First one is, do you support the high-speed rail project going from Fort Collins to Pueblo? And then what do you plan to do to help implement that, like from the city's perspective?
So I absolutely do. And I think that it's really important as a city council candidate that we're looking at making sure where that development goes in is accessible to people. So there has been talk about like the South Transit Center, and that's just not pedestrian friendly or feasible for people to really get to. And I think that the cost of putting in that infrastructure to make that safe and accessible is going to far exceed what would perhaps be the extra cost of having it come more into the city center. So that's very much something that I would like to make happen, and I would want to help the zoning requirements to essentially make that happen and then build out infrastructure around it.
Awesome, thank you. And then my second question is,
How will you manage a potential conflict of interest between being an employee of CSU and working on the council?
So this has been something that I have been very carefully navigating throughout essentially the campaign itself. And shockingly, it actually becomes a lot easier to do that once you are elected. So they heavily regulate and scrutinize a lot more when you are a candidate versus when you actually hold that office, because there's more recourse if they overstep when you hold that office. So based on what the current policy is, it would only be, and this applies to all council members no matter what their day job is, because most of the current council does work and a lot of them work in government, is that I would have to personally know the person to have to recuse myself. So it would have to be like a personal investment or a financial incentive that I have as a conflict of interest. It is not knowing what's going on at the university. It is not meeting that threshold. I don't think that I could be on a panel that is like the deciding vote for if CSU gets to like rezone a whole bunch of stuff, but CSU is fairly autonomous in its own right. But what I would be able to do is put more pressure on the university in their use of the fucking billboards that they put in, how they kind of skirt actual city law noise ordinances, how they had Confederate flags on campus with their rodeo shenanigans. I would be more in a position to actually push back, because a lot of people who work for CSU currently who are very frustrated with these things actually have no real recourse.
Awesome, thank you, I yield.
Senator Vega.
Hi, first of all, I want to say that I've been looking over your website. I love it. I just love the structure of it. I want to touch a little bit on the point that you talk about when you talk about taxing the rich. I have said this time and time again. I truly believe that's a great way to pay for the things that we're trying to do, whether it's infrastructure or anything like that, anything of the sort. Obviously, Tabor's been very controversial over the past for quite a while. Can you tell me more about the type of legislation and tax laws you would propose or support in exchange for the Tabor laws?
So I would want to move to a progressive tax system here in Colorado. So essentially for the everyday person, that means that your taxes would very likely go down at the state level, if not maybe stay the same depending on where you are in an income bracket, but then be raised for the people who are making millions, if not billions of dollars, some of which live here in our great city. So that would be one big thing that I would want to do. Additionally, I very much want to look at, I know HH did not pass, but HH is essentially the ability to change property tax for corporations owning single-family homes or like individual single-family units, as well as raising property taxes on people who have second or third residences that are not their primary residence. So essentially de-incentivizing people from buying up housing stock to then re-rent to the public without rent caps, and bring in, if they are still choosing to have that be part of their business, bringing in that money to come fund the public programs that we need to support people who are struggling financially. Those are a few things. I also do think that just something that we can do at the city level currently is implement a large methane users fee. So that would be largely for businesses and restaurants. It is not a very large fee. Every individual business is assessed, but it would essentially be if you are using unclean energy, you have to pay an additional fee to the city every year, and then we could then reinvest that money, whether that's in green infrastructure or in social programs or just general community infrastructure, putting in more crosswalks, making sure that we're actually fixing roads in a timely manner, bringing that money back to the people who need it.
Awesome, thank you, I yield. Senator Fain.
Hi, I just wanted to touch on your ideas on raising minimum wage. Do you have any plans or policies that you may implement to combat inflation on essential goods and groceries while balancing those higher wages for workers?
So essentially, the studies really do support that you don't need to raise the actual cost of goods very much to account for what a raise in minimum wage is for the workers who work there. So I think it's really important that as we're doing this, we're working with the Chamber of Commerce and local businesses to ensure that they understand what the plan and expectation is. Because businesses who then use it as an excuse to say, oh, I'm gonna raise everything $5, that's not a proportional response to what this would be. So I think it is very much bringing them into the plan so that people and small business owners and business owners in the community feel like they also have agency while we're supporting the people who need this money.
Thank you, I yield. Thank you. I don't know if this is the correct, Nevaeh.
Like really far from the microphone, sorry. So a little bit of context, my mom constantly gets letters from the IRS that's like, you make too much money, but like we live in Fort Collins and we have a cat, so you know. How would you determine like who is rich and who's like a working class? Like, would you just base it on how much money they make, or would you like add up all their expenses, or?
So at the state level, so essentially this would be decided at the state level. So it wouldn't necessarily be me, but I do have thoughts. So essentially when you are looking at like a progressive tax system, you do take into account what the cost of living is. So I think in this case, and in most cases across Colorado, as we would repeal Tabor and set out this new threshold, we would look at what is the actual cost of living, what is a livable wage, and then what is a livable wage for a family, what is a livable wage for a single person, all the things that we already have data on to be able to structure that progressive tax system around that. We would only also be able to work on state taxes and then where that money is getting reinvested. Federally, not our jurisdiction. But I do think it's incredibly important because I don't think that someone who is renting and perhaps struggling a little bit more than the average person because they're trying to support their family should be getting taxed the same amount as billionaires in Vail, where we just had the most expensive home sold in the US. Essentially it did sell. So someone up there has a lot of money and it's not coming down to us.
Makes sense, thank you, I yield.
Senator Garnet.
Hey, kind of mimicking what Chair Hill said, thank you so much for coming here today to talk with us. We really do appreciate it. Along with that, how you were mentioning your plans for the like methane fee, any sort of like carbon production. How could you go a little bit more in depth with that on how it would look based on like amount, how often the fee would be in place, and then how it would impact small businesses versus larger corporations?
So it would be an annual fee. I have spoken immensely with people who have gone out and do this for a living, essentially do environmental assessments for businesses here in the city. And so what they're finding is that it's usually like $200 a year. And so I really put to you that as much as like a large corporation would absolutely be able to eat that cost, their cost would also probably be much higher than a small business that I'm quoting at about $200 a year. And I do very much believe that that is within a feasible structure to potentially pay as a fee to the city. Because additionally, what I really do want to see is Fort Collins Utilities actually listen to CSU and our environmental groups here who have suggested that we can transition to completely green energy through current solar banking infrastructure that we have in the city if we open up policy and permissions for people to buy energy from each other. That is very much something that I want to put in place, and hopefully that incentivizes people to not only meet our sustainability goals, but to have a more affordable option to have energy and avoid that fee if they so choose.
Awesome, thank you so much, I yield.
Are there any other questions for our guest presenter? Can you go ahead and come to the mic?
Can I just speak instead?
Accessibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I asked Hovind the question last week, so I feel it's only fair if I ask you. I don't remember my exact phrasing on it, but given that there's at least, I mean, there's like a ceasefire in Palestine, the situation's definitely changed. But even with that, I mean, what do you feel like we could do? I mean, it's limited in your abilities of what you can do as a city council member, but what would you be willing to do in terms of our divestment from Palestine? I mean, from Israel, I suppose. Thank you.
Yeah, so I would like to just first say that there is a precedent in Fort Collins City Council for essentially disavowing and saying that we do not like genocide. We did it with apartheid. And so the Fort Collins City Council's excuse of that's really not our jurisdiction doesn't really hold water because we have done it before and we have weighed in. I think it's really important in this context that we also note that we're part of the military industrial complex here in Fort Collins with Woodward. While we might not be boots on the ground committing the atrocities, the US and Fort Collins is part of what is essentially allowing things to get to this point and continue. I have, at the state level, we are bound by laws that will not let us divest from Israel. That being said, there is interest both at the state level and with city council, as this is something that I've brought up during my campaign while I have been talking to people, to find ways to make this happen, whether that is looking at changing those policies at the state level, and then kind of looking at changing some of our models here in the city of how we are accepting bids on projects from the lowest value, from the lowest cost to best value. So essentially that would give us more discernment to reinvest in actual local businesses and small businesses here in the city for our municipal projects, rather than giving monies to corporations who might have more dubious allegiances and financial obligations.
Are there any other questions for our guest presenter? Seeing none, thank you so much for joining us. We'll now be moving into executive reports, so if our executive friends want to join us at the front, that'd be amazing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. For those who do not know me, oh my god. Okay, sorry. My name is Shauna Buckner. I'm the executive assistant intern for the Office of the President, specifically for Andrew White and Jakai Nunley. So firstly, I would just like to, extend an apology on their behalf, as they are currently directing a cabinet leaders meeting. So I will be doing the executive report on their behalf, and granted, I actually really won't be. So that report will be extended to next week, as it is. I was not permitted to give that. That's okay. That's fine. Yes. But yeah, I wasn't permitted to give that, so I shall not do that. Actually, did he just attribute it? Okay. Anyways, he won't kill me for this, it's fine. Okay, so this is Andrew's report. I apologize I can't be there. I want to be at every session, Senate session I can, which is also very true, it's very Andrew-like. The two reasons I miss, oh my god. The two reasons for my absence are the cabinet leadership meeting, which I have tonight, and the Rocky Mountains Data Media Corporation Board of Directors meeting. Re-emphasizing executive September monthly reports. All individual reports were sent out in last week's newsletter. Again, please engage with them and hold the executive branch accountable. Hold us accountable. And also find points of collaboration. Rotational internship applications are live on Handshake. Let Andrew know if you are interested in department internships. Would love to get you plugged in as it's rotational, so just like a little synopsis of what that is. The interns would go into the different departments and just learn what all of the directors and assistants do. Thank you to everyone who filled out the organizational wellness survey, and shout out to Chair, I'm so sorry if I butchered this name, Quesada Stoner? Yes? Okay, yeah. We are meeting this Friday to start planning an event. Okay. Andrew is on the third draft of the executive bylaws. They're going to be reviewed at the cabinet leadership meeting tonight and should be presented to the Senate and finalized soon. Let Andrew know if there is no exec rep at your committees or caucus meetings. And finally, the current draft of the executive bylaws is going to require paid members of the executive branch to attend one committee/caucus meeting a month, and don't foresee that being edited. Finally, as always, if any of you ever need anything from Andrew, please let him know his office is right there, bang on the door. Okay, and thank you so much. And just to add for Jakai in particular, he would be talking about the Quentin Fellowship. If you guys participated and did see any of those high school students, it was very successful in my personal opinion. And the ACSU alumni reunion dinner, if you guys were also in attendance, it was also super great. He will go into more extensive detail next week in that regard, and that is all from me.
Okay, before you not joining us at the front, just a clarification, if you have a question during reports, feel free to use the point of information. With that, Senator Eddington, do you have a question?
Yeah, I can just say, point of information. When you talked about the revolving internships, we would have to step down from Senate to participate in that, wouldn't we? That was my question. I yield.
Awesome, thank you, Sean.
Can I motion to Lily in the back?
Yeah, I can say something about that. If you just know anyone, sorry, Milo.
If you could go to a mic, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, the rotational internship program is a really good opportunity if you know anyone who's interested in getting involved in ASCSU at all. It kind of allows them to see, like, they rotate through different departments that they're interested in within executive. So if you know anyone who's like, I want to get involved in ASCSU, definitely point them to that application, because it can be really hard to, like, as you probably all know, to like be in this space and get involved in it. So the rotational internship program really helps with that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Sean Lancy. I am the Deputy Director of Policy Initiatives. I'm here on behalf of Gelicity to give out the exec report for the Department of Governmental Affairs. I just want to advertise a couple of events. So this Friday and next Friday, we are hosting voter registration initiatives. So we'll be tabling on the LSC Plaza. So please come by, please volunteer. And that's in an effort to get people to register to vote for the election on November 4th. We are also going to be tabling on November 4th to guide people to the LSC, because there will be voting mechanisms in the LSC. So we are going to be getting people there on November 4th. So again, the 24th this Friday and the 31st next Friday from 11 to 3, we will be tabling in the plaza to advertise for that. There is a message sent out in the Teams that I sent out. It's like a sign up genius. If you'd like to volunteer for that, that would be awesome. And then this upcoming Monday, so the 27th, there's going to be a local elections roundtable. So there's going to be people for the upcoming election on November 4th. And it's going to be like an informational thing, collaborative event that you should definitely go to. There will be catering. That is also announced in the Teams, so look for the information there. I believe it is from 6 to 8 p.m. October 27th. So that's one of like the Department of Governmental Affairs big things in fall, so please attend that if possible. And then so the QR code up here, please scan this. In December, we're gonna be holding early December, we're gonna be holding an event called Evening with the Electeds. And this QR code is to a form where you can fill out which elected officials you would like to see present. And so if you have specific like state senators or state representatives or city council members that you would like to see there so that you can talk to them, interact with them, get their views on different topics. That's how you would request certain individuals to be there, and then we can reach out on behalf of that. So that event is December 2nd, 6:30 to 8:30. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll now be moving into judicial reports. So if judicial wants to join us at the front.
Progress report. Progress report.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Caitlin. I'm the Deputy Chief Justice. I've got a couple of announcements just from Judicial this week. First of all, ASCSU is collaborating with APAC, the Asian and Pacific American Cultural Center, to host a Pumpkin Palooza, which is just going to be pumpkin painting, hot chocolate, s'mores, cozy Halloween vibes. And it's going to be this coming Tuesday, October 28th, from 5 to 7 p.m. It's just going to be on the LSE West lawn, like in the patio area by the fire pits right over there. So especially if you're in the office, just stop by. Everyone's welcome, no RSVP required. We would love to see you there, especially to help rebuild some relationships with APAC, make some new friends. There will be a prize for best painted pumpkin too. So, yesterday, Jelicity, the Director of Governmental Affairs, and I attended the meeting of the first one of the year of the Vice President of Student Affairs Council of Student Leaders. Basically, it's just a space where students can, from different areas around the campus, we had eco leaders there, different, some people from the College of Business, the Multi-Faith Belief Center. There were just a bunch of representatives from different areas on campus, and you basically meet with the Vice President of Student Affairs, Blanche Hughes, and talk about any kind of issues that you're seeing on campus or just questions, concerns you have. So if you guys, these are recurring meetings, like kind of a couple times a semester. So if you have anything that you want us to bring to their attention, please come talk to me, talk to Andrew, talk to Melanie. We'll get things on a list and we can bring those up. I'd love to bring your concerns to the Vice President. More court stuff. As Deputy Chief, I've been conducting like one-on-one check-ins with all of our associates, and that's going pretty well. As always, our door is open if you have any questions, comments, concerns. All of our documents for internal complaints, opinion requests are on the website, so you can access those, submit them to us if you need to. We're also just have a pretty open door policy, so if you just want to stop by, say hi, please do so. And then on a lighter note, this is the last thing, some of you may know we're doing a door decorating contest out there. And I noticed that some of those doors look pretty bare, so I don't know how the voting's working, if it's student votes or if they're bringing in separate people, but vote for the judicial door. I think it looks pretty nice. Melanie put it together, so. And lastly, just join us for our Pumpkin Palooza next Tuesday. Any questions? Questions? Thank you all.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and move into legislative reports, starting with officer reports. My apologies for slow responses this last week. Pro being medicated, so expect faster response times from me. On that same note, if you have any questions about Senate or want to meet at any time, feel free to shoot me an email. We can have a one-on-one. It'll be really fun. It'll be really cool. But other than that, other options?
Hi, everyone. Last week, Felicity and I attended the Classified Personnel Council meeting That is the last shared governance or employee council leadership meeting for the month. Unsurprisingly, President Parsons and Provost Underwood were there. They talked about stuff. I don't think it was terribly consequential. If I can do anything to help any of you, please let me know. And if I've ignored you, please send me another message. I let that slide for a week, so I'm sorry. Yeah, let me know if I can do anything.
Officer Dix, do you have anything? Oh my gosh, cool.
Is it already on? Okay. Hi everyone. Hopefully you saw my message in Teams, but I forgot the date. I believe it's the 29th. Yeah, on Wednesday, the 29th of this month, just because it's so close to Halloween, we're going to be doing our first themed Senate session. So everyone come in your Halloween costume, of course. Make sure it's appropriate. We linked guidelines on appropriate costumes from CSU. And everyone please go to costumes, and I will be asking for a picture after. Everyone has to take a picture with me, please. Like, all of us lined up in the front. It's gonna be so cute, and I'm definitely posting on Instagram. But my personal Instagram. But anyways, besides that, onboarding should start next week, and yeah, I hope everyone's having a lovely time. If you need me, I can help you with anything. If you need to reach me, you can reach me by email. I would prefer it by text though, so if you need my number, just come up to me. Yeah, and I'm always open to working on stuff with others, so really open for collaboration. And yeah, if y'all need anything, let me know. But yeah, have a great rest of the week.
Awesome, with that, let's go ahead and move into committee and caucus reports by First Choice Blackard. Chair Monty.
Nothing too major in caucus. Caucus time is still Monday, 12 to 1. And let all your constituents know that it is still open to students, and I would love to see more of them there. Please, I need more people. And I yield.
Thank you, Chairman Baldwin.
Budgetary committee met yesterday. We discharged resolution 5515 with no edits, as we made the decision it's not really our jurisdiction to edit that. We also discharged bill 5516 and 5517 with minor edits. And also on the note that someone in gallery input brought up is that if anyone's ever interested in working on bills relating to basic needs, food pantries, please let me know, because that's basically my top interest for ACSU. I yield.
Thank you. Do any other chairs or committees wish to report at this time? Chair Casada.
Hello, everyone. I hope it has been a good day. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion endorsed and discharged Bill 5516. And we also did the same with, or we actually did make an edit to this bill and added fiscal year 26 just to make sure that everything is detailed and known. And then we also endorsed and discharged Bill 5517 with no edits made. And then just wanted to shout out the Mayor Roundtable one more time this Monday from 6 to 8. Great opportunity. Also, if you don't want to go alone, I will be there. So if you want to walk in with someone or anything, let me know. And then also, me and Jolicity are putting up an ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos this weekend. So if you want to help or anything, please let me know. And then go to Students of the Oval Caucus. It is awesome. We have a great time. Gonna keep shouting this out until some more people come too, because it is a great, great caucus. So everyone should go. Yeah, I yield.
Thank you. Are there any other committee or caucus reports? Seeing none, we'll jump into Senator and Associate Senator reports by First Choice Blackard. Senator Brisky.
Okay, hello. I'm
Okay, so I'll start off with, it is Relationship Violence Awareness Month, and I haven't really talked about it a whole lot. And since we don't have a lot on the agenda, I'm gonna go ahead and just say, that reach out to the Safe Center if you or someone you know is experiencing relationship violence currently or in the past. It's never okay and you are not alone. Regarding what was said also in gallery earlier, that reports of a preacher saying something deeply disturbing, also know that that is not okay and that, again, you are not alone. It's not your fault if anything has happened to you, and that there's always support. So we have advocates, we have our, I'll put it in the Teams, I think it's already in there before, but I will put the VAT hotline. So reach out, they are wonderful. But overall, we've just been doing a lot of events about consent, healthy relationships, lots of really amazing things, including Monday we have trivia night. I'm not gonna lie, I have a team going, so it's gonna be really hard to beat us, but definitely sign up, attend, even if you don't wanna do trivia, just like show up in your costume, have fun. And support survivors, because overall, especially with this administration and everything going on, it is important that we support survivors, believe survivors, and do whatever we can to help them. Yeah, so I think I think that's the main event that we have coming up. Yeah, I will put more information in the Teams chat. So, also I wanted to shout out Faculty Council for their role with the free speech policy, because their support was instrumental in getting that revoked by Amy Parsons. So shout out to the Faculty Council. Coalitions are really cool. I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Pickerel.
I want to see all of you. Okay, so as you may have seen, I put out 2 resolutions into the Teams chat. I put a general announcement out. One is, they're both of course regarding free speech because, you know, I do one thing. But the first one is regarding transparency. One of the biggest issues with this whole thing, and I think this is going to be the consistent, like, big issue, other than having our rights infringed upon, is the complete and utter lack of transparency. We've been saying it in this space for so long now. We are not having transparent conversations. They are not being initiated between the top down, you know, if you get what I'm laying down. But that's the first one. And I think we intend to run that one next week. The other one was far larger and had a heavier focus on the fast track process. And I am excited to admit I was wrong and I didn't understand the fast track process. And I think that's kind of an issue that's occurring throughout the entirety of this issue. And in my opinion, I think it's actually worse than if it was through the fast track policy. Fast track policy, as it currently stands, is used for quite a few things, and it's not just used for non-substantial edits. That is kind of a older thing. It is now used primarily to delegate the signature, and you, Chief Justice, can correct me if I'm wrong. The fast track is typically used to delegate the signature from the president, so President Parsons, to the Vice President of University Operations, who is Brendan Hanlon. So the fast track policy doesn't necessarily skip over these things. It's not typically supposed to. Almost all policies follow a standard implementation and review process. This one did not. It skipped that process. So the fast track historically was used to do non-substantial edits, so typos, updating information within links, changing the names of offices that have had their names changed. And now its intended use is largely to delegate that signature process and the development process, so the presidential cabinet doesn't have to consistently deliberate over smaller policy edits. And that's used fairly regularly. But by and large, from my understanding, I yield to Chief Justice.
Just kind of like a point of clarification. Not only am I Chief Justice, but I'm also the Policy Office Assistant. So I work right under the Policy Director, under Vice President of University Operations. And so Claire's absolutely right in everything. A fast track is just the designated signature process from Amy Parsons to the VPO to sign off on them. This is how most, if not all, revised policies are done. This is just if you go onto the Policy Office website, like the formal definition in there is in there as well as the process. But a policy proponent comes forward, they're saying like, I want this done, they get like a cabinet sponsor from President Parsons, so usually a vice president, and then from there, they get an impact statement of why they want this to go through. That gets sent to cabinet, it's signed off, yes, you can revise this policy because of this, or you can create this new policy because of this. And then from there, a revision committee is made. That revision committee then works on the policy. It's usually made of the stakeholders who are pertinent to that situation. And then it goes through like a feedback process, which is sent out to stakeholders for 2 weeks. And then that feedback is taken down. We remove anything that could signify who they are. And then that goes into the revision team. And then they meet again and they actually address each one of the feedbacks of that process. And then another email is sent out regarding that the policy has been finished. ACSU is listed as a stakeholder, but again, if you guys have any questions on this, I can talk about the policy process all day. The website also lays it out, but that is kind of the essence of a fast track. But yeah, if you guys have any questions.
So clearly, there's a policy and there's a process. Sorry, there's not a policy, there's a process. There is not yet a policy on policy making. That's important and will be important. What? Yay, this is an awesome website, by the way. And frankly, the policy, like building process and the policy editing process is really good. This did not follow that, and I am not of the opinion that that was the policy office's fault. And I would encourage all of you to not believe that the policy office was the one who bypassed this or allowed this bypass. Something happened and we don't know what it is yet, but we gotta figure it out. Because your rights, yes, yours, all of yours, were infringed upon. And that's important because it's your rights and the rights of others. And that's important, so protect it. Don't let them take it.
A brief abridgment on that, it's not just your rights, it's also your constituents' rights. You're directly representatives of your constituents. It's just a point that I would add there, but with that, Senator Vega.
Okay, thank you. On a much lighter note than that, hello, my fellow human beings. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Esteban. I'm a senator for the Natural Sciences. I'm also the vice chair of the LSC Governing Board. And right now the LSC is running a campaign trying to figure out what's missing in the LSC. So whether that's what you want to see filling the spot where Ramtech used to be permanently. Right now it's CTV, which is temporary, in case you didn't know that. Also, there's also for this campaign where there's going to be tabling opportunities. I will add that to the teams, the general probably, if you want to kind of have that interbranch collaboration or any kind of collaboration at all with the LSCs. So again, that's gonna go on the teams. If you are interested in tabling, awesome, there's an opportunity. If not, no worries. I would like to also pass around these little note cards with a QR code, which is gonna send you to the survey, which essentially is what we're gonna be handing out to the students. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you, Associate Senator Simonis.
Sorry, that's not how my name is pronounced, so that's why I was confused. It's okay. The FCC is having an event on Halloween, but it's like a few days collaboration with the CRCs in the Career Center. It's a career crawl, but the FCC specific one is Unmasking and Career with the Student Disability Center, and then it's on Friday the 31st, 11 to 12 p.m. I have a lab, so I won't be there, but it's in the LSC of room 328 to 330, like both of them, and I'll put this information in the in our teams. But this workshop will explore the topics of masking, expectations of professionalism, and neurodivergence in the workplace, the creative mask as we learn how to advocate and show up as our best selves in our career. And then there are several other events between Wednesday and Friday for the other CRCs. And then last year I wasn't a senator or an associate at that point, but I worked with Transport to redesign the signage on the buses that like relate to the disability seating, and I posted about it in the Teams chat. I think because they're decals and they have to remove the old decals, it's gonna take them a while, but I think they're working on installing all of them. So hopefully we'll see that soon. And then one more thing, the Glover reconstruction, and then it's getting a new name. The student feedback meeting is this Friday, and it was on our newsletter, but the room is gonna be in here, which was not on our newsletter. And then it's October 24th, 9 to 10 a.m. So just this Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. here.
Thank you, Chair Casado.
Hi, I just wanted to shout out something for my organization, The Body Project. We are having two upcoming workshops. And so this is a place where we create open, supportive spaces to talk about the appearance ideal, how it affects us, the cost, and how we can challenge it together. These guided conversations are focused on building self-acceptance, community, and awareness. If you are interested, please sign up in the link in the chat, in the general chat. Our first workshop is going to be, there are 2 parts, so if you need to go to both parts, just because they have not homework, they low-key do have homework, but it's really easy, really easy, but it just builds off the conversation in the second part. So they're both 2 hours long. The first one's October 28th, 4 to 6, and November 4th, 5 to 7. And then workshop 2 is Wednesday, November 5th, 5:30 to 7:30, and then Wednesday, November 12th, 5:30 to 7:30 again. So if that sounds interesting, please sign up. It is catered towards women and non-binary folks, but all are welcomed. We just can only have 2 men or male identifying folks in the workshop, just to create that community and make sure everyone's comfortable. So thank you, and I yield.
Thank you, Senator Eddington.
Hi, I'm just shouting out that volunteer org, CAM Cares again. I know I've talked about it a couple times. It's really good. I'm not just shouting it out in case any of you guys want to get involved, but more importantly, since a lot of us, we should know our constituents, we should know some of our people in our constituencies, I would say, if you know anybody that wants to get involved with volunteering and you know people that like are trying to be active in this community but don't know how, send them my way, and send yourselves my way too while you're at it for the club. Go Rams, I yield.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to give a report at this time? Seeing none, I will go ahead and enter confidence business with 2 hours on the clock, and start with the ratification of our basic needs intern, Nevaeh Green.
Hey, I am on the Zoom. Are y'all ready?
You're good to go.
Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. So sorry that I'm on Zoom. I'm in another meeting right now, so I'm just like stepping out for a second. So we'll make this super quick, but Nevaeh is super, super cool. I'm so, so excited to have them on the team, on the basic needs team. Basically, the way that this worked, and like I know a lot of you are gonna have questions because it's ratification of like what the process we went through. Nevaeh reached out to me and was interested in interning for the Department of Basic Needs, came to me with like 10 bajillion super cool ideas, and so we chatted about it a lot, narrowed it down to a couple really cool projects that I think are gonna be really beneficial and impactful for the student body that they're gonna work on throughout the year and throughout the semester, next semester. So just be on the lookout for that. I'll let them talk about that more. I won't hit on that very much. But yeah, and then I was kind of just like, cool, like I'm super excited. So working together, very, very cool, very excited. I know I'm using those words a lot. With that, I don't think there's much else to say. Yeah, I don't think there's much else to say.
Awesome, Nevaeh, do you want to say anything? Hi, if we haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Nevaeh. I've been a senator for about 1.5 years now, but I'm not anymore, so. But yes, like Lauren said, I have a bajillion ideas, but I'm not gonna do all of them just yet. They're in the works, but not yet. So I have a few ideas, and I'm gonna keep them a surprise for now because I'm going to be bombarding your emails very soon. But yeah, what are my pronouns, you may ask? I'll let you decide that. But yeah, so that's all I've got.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and enter a period of Q&A by first raised placard. Senator Frisky.
Hi! Okay, first of all, congratulations. I will be so sad that you're not a senator anymore, but I'm so excited for this new opportunity for you. You're gonna do amazing. My question maybe doesn't fit in the ratification guidelines, but I don't know if I care at this moment. Can I get a hint of maybe a project that you would be willing to do, or are planning to do?
I would refrain from saying you don't care about the bylaws to the future, but that can stand.
That's a really good point, my bad. I do care deeply about the bylaws and put that on the record. Let the record show that Senator Frisky does in fact care about the bylaws.
So I'd like to share one of my ideas, which is classes on how to take care of yourself, which is essentially like budgeting, shopping lists, how to make a doctor's appointment, what kind of like health care that women need, because I didn't know about some of that until just recently, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. I'm not going to share all the classes because surprises, but yeah, if that answers your question.
Absolutely, that sounds fantastic. Also, Fiona did remind me that I do read the bylaws before bed, so forgot to mention that part every night. I yield my time.
Thank you, as always, Senator Frisky. With that, Chairman Nancy.
Well, Frisky already hit all my questions, so I motion the previous question.
Second.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none, if you want to go ahead and take a step outside real quick. I'm so sorry, Nancy.
I would say I very much approve of this candidate, especially in terms of like planning. I did a lot of work with Nevaeh last year in regards of planning a lot of Pride events, and they had great ideas. Honestly, a majority of the ideas came from Nevaeh. Like the self-love week last week that Pride last year that Pride hosted was put on by Nevaeh. Nevaeh is great. I had very high hopes and such a lovely person, so yeah, I approve, very much so.
You yield, right?
Yes.
Cool. Chairman Ozzie.
Y'all know I will sing Nevaeh's praises to heaven and high horse, because I truly believe that they have brilliant ideas and they have all the initiative and drive to see them through to the very end. I know that they will do wonderfully in this position, and that they will get results done. They are very much about getting those results done. So yeah, anyone else on the speakers list? I will yield then.
Chair Hill.
Hi, yeah, just to echo everyone else's sentiment, I've been working with Nevaeh all semester pretty much. They're my vice chair, well, I guess formerly, but I'll survive somehow. Yeah, they're so motivated, have amazing ideas. I think this is a perfect fit. I'm so excited. And with that, I motion to previous questions.
Second.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move into the period of voting. Senator Garnett.
Motion to approve the candidate with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to the ratification of this candidate? Hearing none, yay, Nevaeh. Not yet.
Thank you.
I state your name.
I, Nevaeh Green,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
the
duties of my office
to
the best of my ability.
the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. With that, old business, new business, now we're ending roll call. Chairman Ozzie.
Motion to use beginning roll call and ending roll call, and let folks who showed up later hop on.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none. Awesome. With that, we adjourn.